All the participants will join the session in some time. Make sure that you have turned off your audio and video. Participants are still
Yes.
joining. We'll wait for some
Yes.
time.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Akshita ma'am.
Okay, so ma'am, now it is 1:30. Shall we start? Ma'am, shall
Yes,
we
ma'am.
start?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Yes, yes. Okay, so good afternoon, all the participants, and welcome back to session 2 of the day, which will be a hands-on session on Python for data science, libraries and demonstration by Mrs. Akshita Chanchalani, ma'am. Ma'am, we got a very nice feedback about yesterday's session, and students are very enthusiastically attending the session and getting the valuable inputs out of that. So, once again, I welcome Akshita ma'am and hand over the session to you. Over to you, Akshita ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, Deepali, ma'am. I will just share the screen and start with the session.
Yes, ma'am, till you share that, I would like to give the instruction to all the participants.
Yes,
Dear
ma'am.
students, yes, dear students, please make sure that you turn your audio and video off and post your queries on Teams because you may not be having the access of chat box here. So you can post your queries in the Teams and definitely all would be addressed after the end of the session. Thank you.
All right. I hope the screen is visible, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible properly.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah. So, good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all on day 3 Python workshop. And on day 1, I've just given you introduction about why we are moving ahead towards Python. And then we have seen what are the different data collection parts like list, dictionary, and tuple. On the day 2, I have introduced two libraries, which is NumPy and Pandas. Though I have not completed those two libraries, but at least we have touched those libraries and you have got the idea that how we can proceed ahead whenever we are working with NumPy and Pandas libraries. Whenever we are working with data science, or you can say we are working with machine learning algorithms, deep learning algorithms, and so we will have a lot of data with us. But when I'm saying I have a lot of data, I have to process that data. So for that processing, the two major libraries that are used is NumPy and Pandas that we have seen in the last session, that is day 2. Let us start with the day 3 now, in which we will be seeing something called as data visualization using Matplotlib. Once I will finish this Matplotlib session, maybe in next 45 minutes, after that I will be giving you overview of what exactly comes under your data science, what is machine learning, what is deep learning, what are the various algorithms within machine learning, and how what are the different applications. And you can take any application and everyone is using machine learning and deep learning. So I'll give you those some few examples of that, and later on I'll give you the scope if you want to you can say go ahead in the field of data science, then what are the different opportunities, and for that what you need as such you can say as a technology or as a programming skills, what actually you need and what is the role of those, right? So this is what we can go ahead. So if we talk about data visualization, so visualization is basically I want to see something on my screen, and that is nothing but something which is in the form of diagrammatic representation, and that's why we do something called as data visualization. Because if I give you facts and figures in tabular format, someone may not be interested. In that case, I will represent that facts and figures in the form of diagrams, or you can say something called as graphs. And when I say I want to represent my data in the form of graphs, and for that, in case of Python, we have something called as matplotlib library. And matplotlib is basically a predefined third-party package available within your Python. So what you have to do to install this matplotlib, you just have to write pip install matplotlib. I can see, listen some disturbance. Please follow the protocols.
Dear
There,
students, please mute
yeah,
yourself. It's creating a noise. Please mute yourself.
yeah. So let us.
Ma'am, please unmute yourself. Akshita ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, I've unmuted.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So let us proceed ahead to something called as matplotlib library. When we talk about matplotlib, we need this particular library for data visualization. And when I'm saying for data visualization, it's the highest bandwidth channel into the human brain. So basically, when I'm saying I want, if you visualize the things, that comes faster in your mind and in your brain, and that gets processed fast in your brain. And that's why we need something called as data visualization. So we can generally use this use this terminology. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and that's the reason in data science also, or in big data, or when I say I want to represent the data, obviously if I represent in a picture format, in a graphical format, then I need a data visualization. So for this, we have a matplot library. We need the data visualization because I want to find some relationship between the data. I want to find or fetch some of the patterns in the data, or maybe I want to discover some meaning in the data. Normally, when we talk about Python, then we have something 2D plotting library available, which produces the high quality figures on your output screen. So a matplotlib is having different categories of charts, maybe line chart, scatter chart, bar chart, histogram, pie chart, etc. So we will try to plot these particular graphs today. Now, in the last session, we have seen whenever I'm using any third-party package, in that case, I have to use something called as import statement. And import statement is basically used that to tell your interpreter that I am going to use this particular library and I'm going to use the functionality which is already available. Similarly, when I am saying I want to import matplotlib, there are two ways. One is either you can go ahead by writing from matplotlib import pyplot as plt. As we have seen, as is used for giving an alias name given to your library. You can say an alias name given to that library. Or you can just write import matplotlib pyplot as plt. What is this pyplot? This basically is one class which helps us to plot the data onto the output screen. How? We will see different charts today, how to represent the data in the form of graphs using the matplotlib. So these are the different types of plots. You can represent the data in bar graph, histograms, scatter plot, you can say line graph, pie chart, and area plot, and so on. They have direct functionality that you can go ahead by representing different types of plots. So if I say matplotlib, normally in this case, when we talk about matplotlib, actually matplotlib is one large library under which we have something called as pyplot. So it is like a collection, or you can say it's like a class which is available and it has some predefined functions within it. They work, you might have heard something about MATLAB software which is used to represent the diagrams. So this particular pyplot gives us some plotting area, and that particular in that area we try to represent our data maybe in the form of different charts. And that's the reason whenever I'm trying to import matplotlib, I have to import two sentences or two packages. First, the whole library called as matplotlib, and second, matplotlib.pyplot. We always have to import these two in order to use these particular graphs, right? Without wasting much time, I would like to go ahead to the Jupyter notebook. Right, so let us go to the Jupyter notebook. I hope you all are comfortable in opening a Jupyter notebook. I've just already opened it by creating opening a command prompt. And I've already written a Jupyter notebook, and it have opened a notebook for me in my browser window. And I've created one empty notebook which is having, let us say, day 3 Python matplotlib. Right, so let us start creating simple line graphs gradually. So now what we are going to see is, first we will try to put the plot in a line graph, the simple plot. And next we will try to plot something called as graph only, but where we will see how we can give some headings, you can say x-axis, y-axis, some ticks and so on. And then I will go ahead in which we will be seeing how we can plot subplots. Subplots means whenever I'm talking about graph within a graph within one picture, that is called as subplots. And later on we will see how we can merge one or two number of line graphs into one graph. And after that I will also show you how we can represent multiple graphs or multiple charts. So all these examples we will be seeing today. Along with that, we will see how to represent a bar graph and how to represent a pie chart. So this is the agenda for today in you can say in this hands-on session. So whenever we are talking about matplotlib, we have to import two statements. The first statement is import. Let me just increase little font. Right. So let us say I'm writing matplotlib. So this is the first library that I have to import. After that, I will say import matplotlib plot, because there are different packages. Under different packages there are different collections available in the Python. So which collection I'm going to use? I'm going to use pyplot collection, as I'm saying pt. As pt is nothing but some alias name which I've given. Let me just run this cell. So the imports, if you have a matplot installed on your machine correctly, and if you try to hit a command import matplotlib and import matplot, then it will not give you error. That means if the package is installed properly, it will give you proper output. That means this will not give you that package is not installed, something like that. Now I hope you all remember that we have something called as list. So what I'll do, we will try to create two different lists, and that is also called as creating an array. So I'll write plot. I want to plot. What I want to plot? I want to plot a graph. So by default, it generates a line graph. How to go ahead with bar graph, how to go ahead with pie chart, I will explain. Right now, I will say I am passing 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is my first list. I'm saying this is my second list. 3, let us say some 8 value, maybe some 10 and maybe some 25. So these are the two values which I have passed. So that is nothing but I have passed an array, or you can say list of which coordinates? X and Y coordinates. Okay. Now this will just hold these values. Now I want to plot this graph. To plot this graph, I have a function called as pt.show. When I use a function called as pt.show, let us hit enter. Can you see the nice graphical representation is represented on the output screen? No doubt you can change the color. I will show you gradually. We will go ahead how we can change the color, how we can give some you can say the sticks colors and headers, and you can say x-axis, y-axis and so on. This is just one simplest example. When I want to plot a graph with x and y coordinates, this is how it is going to represent it for me. Until and unless I do not write a show function, then in that case this will not display your graph. This will hold the graph, but to display this on the Jupyter notebook, you have to use a function which is called as show function. So show function is basically used to represent the graph in a proper diagram on your Jupyter notebook. Next, let me take the same example. Okay, we will go ahead step by step. Now I have given pt.plot 1, 2, 3, 4 and 3, 8, 10, 25. Same data, I'm just carry forwarding ahead. I want to give some title. So I can give pt dot title. Maybe I'm giving some rain data. Okay, let us hit enter. Can you see the title is displayed? So here, as soon this plot pt title is a function where it is defined within the collection called as a py plot. So this is giving me a title called as rain data, right? Let us proceed ahead. I'll just take these examples. We'll carry forward these examples. Title I have set now. Now I want to set the x-axis and the y-axis. If I want to set the x-axis, I'll write pt dot x label. And here I'll maybe write something called as days. And maybe I'll write pt dot y label. And maybe I'll write something called as inches, rain in inches. That's it. You see now x label is given and y label is given. So this is how we can create a graph from the list where we can give the title to the graph, we can give x label and y label. If you are working along with me, you can just try. I can hold for 5 to 10 seconds in between. So x label will give me the axis title, x-axis title, and y label will give me the y-axis title for me. Okay, now let us proceed ahead. Now I'm saying I want to create subplots. Maybe something called as figures. When I'm talking about subplots, a subplot indicates a graph within a figure. What is the figure? A figure can be your rectangle. Within the rectangle, I need some kind of, you can say, a graph to be represented. We will go ahead one by representing a subplot. So when I'm talking about subplot, it means a graph within the figure. Also, when we talk about these subplots, it takes some 3 arguments, right? How it takes 3 arguments? It takes x value, it takes y value, and it takes z value, right? Now, let me just hit enter over here. So these are the comments and I'm starting with the next topic. Let us say we are trying to import, we have already imported for this notebook as a pt, that is pyplot.pt. So that is the first statement. I'll write figure is equal to pt.figure. When I just try to set the figure in which I want to put my graph. When you see the output of this particular you can say line of code, then I will explain once again what are these lines for. Let us say I'm writing rect is equal to fig dot patch function. After that, I'm saying rectangle dot maybe set face color. Maybe I want a green color. Right? Now, let us say I'm declaring one X list where maybe I will take the same data. Let us say 3, 7 or okay, I'll give another 3, maybe 7, maybe 8, maybe 12. And I may have a Y data where I'm passing some 5, maybe 13, maybe 2 or 8 and so on, probably this one. So I have created 2 lists having X and Y. Now I will create one graph 1 is equal to, I'll say figure dot add underscore subplot, and I'll pass 3 arguments to it, 1, 1, 1, and I will say graph 1 dot plot. What I have to plot? I have to plot x and y coordinates. Maybe I want to give in red color And let us say I am passing something called as line width is equal to 4.0. Now, when I say PLT, or we have used PT, right? PT dot show. So let us hit enter. Can you see a nice graph in which I have represented my data inside a rectangle? Normally what was happening when I tried to represent the graph in normal pt.plot, then it has given me proper graph, no issues about it. But I want this graph should be more attractive. So what I'll do, I will first create a figure. That means that particular figure will be basically used for putting that graph within it. Why do we need figures? Why do we need subplot? After one or two examples, you will get the correct answer. So let me first explain how this particular graph have been represented. In this, I have set plot.figure. Means I'm telling to the interpreter that I am going to use some kind of figure. Then I'm setting fig.patch. Please create a patch for me where I can insert my plot. After that, I've set this rectangle.setFaceColor is equal to green. From this, your interpreter will understand that whatever figure I am setting, that is nothing but green. After that, we have set X values and Y values. Previously, we have used a plot function. If I have only one single graph, you can go ahead with plot. So plot will just plot the data. But if I want multiple number of plots, multiple number of graphs within one plot and so on within one single area, then I go ahead with subplots. And subplots are basically added within some container. So you can say a figure is nothing but one container who is holding my graph. As soon as I'm writing this particular figure, which is my here figure, it is saying figure.patch, which is nothing but rect, and rect is my figure. Please add subplot for me, where I have passed 1, 1, 1. What does this 1, 1, 1 represent? It means X. Write it for you. X, Y, and Z. What does this X means? X indicates width. Y indicates, you can say, height. Z indicates count of graph. Understand after two examples. Just hold on. Just listen first. So if I'm talking about three things over here, it will define the width. It will define the height. It will define the count. Count means मुझे मेरे particular this rectangle figure में how many graphs I want to represent. From this, your compiler, your interpreter will understand that I have only one graph which is to be added inside this graph one. And when I say plot x, y, red and line width is 4.0, this is nothing but width of the line, that is line graph. By default, when you go ahead with plot, by default it plots line graph. And when I'm saying line width, which is giving me 4.0, that means this is the width which I have given for this line. And in between, पहले हमने plot function लिखा था. In that plot, I've just passed x and y, right? Here, I have passed x and y. I have passed the next parameter red, and I have passed the next parameter line width 4.0. So can I say, can I use pt.plot in the above case by passing the color and line width? Yes, you can. It is like the more, if you want help for any, you can say function, you can use Python help utility, which will give you the complete detail about it. Let me just write down help, let us say plot function. Okay, this is, you can say plot is one function, or let us say if I want help on matplotlib.py plot, and if I hit enter, right, in that case this will give you complete detail about this utility, right? So if I need any you can say help for help command, or you can say some syntaxes that I want to use, in that case you can just use this help utility of Python, which will show you all the exact parameters, all the exact data, what are the different functions which it takes, and so on and so forth. So that is how you can go ahead by using these particular plots, right? So it gives you description, it gives you the name of the library, and it will give you what are the different functions available, what do you mean by the function parameters, what are different nodes. So it automatically comes when you install Python on your machine. So this is very useful, and help is used basically. I want to go ahead with Python K documentation. I want to look into the details of the documentation part. So here, okay, let us come back to this now. So when I say add subplot 1 comma 1 comma 1, it means please add the subplot in the figure and create this complete graph for me. And that name I'm giving as graph 1. And when I'm saying graph1 dot plot x comma y comma red comma line width, it is giving me that. So until and unless I do not represent or I do not use the show function, it will not display the data on the output screen. So to show or to visualize the graph, I need something called as show function, right? Now, let me take the same example with, I'll do some modifications now. Before making plot.show, I have specified that I have a rectangle whose color is green, and face color is basically the front color that I want into that rectangle. Later on, I've decided that I want to display only one graph within this rectangle. So I have said, please plot the subplot 1 comma 1 comma 1. So count is also 1. I've set the line width. I've set the line width 4.0, and I've given the color as red. Now I'm saying graph 1 dot tick underscore parameters, right? And I am writing axis is equal to X, and I'm writing color is equal to maybe white. Similarly, I am writing the same data for y. Graph1 dot tick underscore parameters, axis is equal to y axis, and color I want to give as white. When I hit enter, can you observe in this scenario, this tick's parameters are nothing but these lines. Can you visualize? I'll just increase this. Okay, let me go just over here. I hope it is visible. These white dots are called as tick params. By default, they were coming as black. Right here, I have made those tick parameters as a white. It is like I want to visualize my data in a very interactive way. So that is what I can make the changes. How do I make the changes? I just use the functions. So tick params, x axis के tick parameters को white color दे दो. So it means like that. No doubt my graph will be same, only the color have been changed. That is called as tick parameters, right? So by default it was displaying black, now it is displaying white. All right, let us go ahead. I'll take the same code and proceed ahead by taking, or you can say, let me just increase the font, right? So I've mentioned tick parameters. Now I'm writing graph1 dot spines, the spines function. and I'm saying bracket में top dot set underscore color and I'm giving blue. Okay. Similarly, I'll copy this. Graph 1 dot spines top dot set color blue. Second, third and fourth, where I'm saying every color I want it as blue. Top, left, right, right and bottom. Top, bottom, left and right. Right? I will hit enter. Let us observe what actually the spines means. Can you see in the previous graph this line was a black line. These are called as spines. So it is like if I want to set some spines, or you can say some color to this spine. What is the spine? Spine is nothing but these outlines. Can you see these outlines are now blue and initially those outlines were black. I hope the color is visible, right? So so this is like I am trying to set the spines, and these spines always have predefined 4 constants. One is top, left, right and bottom. And if you have to change the color of those outline is nothing but your spines. If you want to change the color for that, you can go ahead by writing graph 1 dot spines. Top color I want to set it to blue. Bottom left color I want to set it to blue. Right color also I want to set to blue, and I want to set color to blue for bottom spine also. This is another thing. So you can go ahead by changing the spine color also. Alright, let us proceed ahead. So I hope you have understood what do you mean by tick parameters and what do you mean by spines. Now I will write graph 1 dot set underscore title. I will set title. Let us say graph data. I'm just putting some fields, that is graph data, and I want its color maybe is equal to white. Similarly, I'm setting some set underscore X label for it. When I set the X label, in that case, I will go ahead by writing this is X axis. And I will set the color. I'll write color is equal to, maybe I'll set it again back to white. And similarly, I can set the Y label color. So I'll say set Y label, this is Y axis and color is equal to white. So you can set the title, you can set the X label, you can set the Y label. So this graph is more visually good, and you can say this graph is more interactive and attractive for me, and it is giving me proper details, like I have a graph data, I have X axis and I have a Y axis. I've set the title, set the X label, set the Y label. Along with that, I have mentioned the spines for this particular graph. The spines are nothing but some boundary lines which I have set, and when I say tick underscore parameters are these parameters which are having this particular representation in white color, these dots. So this is called as plotting your graph within a figure. Right? When I say plotting a graph within figure, it means I want a graph to be entered into some container. The reason is I may have one or more number of graphs together to be represented in one single graph, and that is what is a need of this figure. Let us first quickly go through the next example, then you will actually understand what exactly is a need of this particular creating a figure and adding the graphs into it, right? So next example which I'm trying to explain you over here is creating, I'm putting some comments, multiple plots in a graph. So I'm trying to put multiple number of plots in a graph. So a plot is your actual data, what I want to plot. What is a graph? It is nothing but one container where you put on some, you can say, your data. Let us say I'm writing fig is equal to pt dot figure. From this, your interpreter will understand that I want to use some kind of figure. I'll write the same sentence. Rect is equal to fig dot patch. I want to create a patch. I'll say rect dot set underscore face color maybe is equal to green. It is not equal to, it's a function. Rect dot set face color green. So these three statements we have seen in the above case also. Now in this example I have plotted only one line. I want three particular datas to be displayed. Let us say I'm having one X array, I'm having one Y array, I may have X1 array, I may have some Y1 array, I may have X2 array, and I will have Y2 array. So let us quickly give some numbers within these arrays and we will try to plot all these in one graph, right? Maybe something X, and this is my Y array, maybe 5, 13, 2 and 8. X1 we can probably take maybe 0 value, 4 value, 7 and maybe 12. Y1 value I can give 3, 7, 2 and 12. And let us say X2 array I'm specifying maybe 0, maybe 4, maybe 5 and maybe 12. And let us say I am defining 13, maybe 5 and 8 and 2. Some values I have defined. Now I want to add a subplot. For that I will use fig dot add underscore subplot. I want only one subplot, X, Y and this. I will allocate this to graph 1. So I will create a graph 1 which will have a subplot which consists of only one figure, and this will have only one graph. Okay, now I'll say graph 1 dot plot, where I'll mention X, comma, Y. I want this graph to be displayed in red line. And let us say I'm defining line width 4.0. Similarly, I will say in my graph, I want to add, maybe here I'll mention some change in line width so you will be able to visualize it. Maybe I'll change the color, something with blue and something with orange. And initially I want to represent X and Y. Next I want to represent X1 and Y1. Next I want to represent X2 and Y2. Every set of array will be added within this plot. And in which plot? In the graph 1. Let us quickly take these. Tick parameters I want same, spine colors I want same. I want to give everything set title, set X label, Y label same. Just let us keep it same. And finally I'm showing that I want to show this particular graph. Okay, a nice graph have been displayed, and this is called as I have one single graph which is having different number of plottings. Obviously, this is a real life, you can say, application where you want to represent some data in which you want to represent the data in different graphs, and can you compare. This is basically this visualization is basically for comparison, that this line, this particular blue line is starting at 3 and maybe it is ending at 12. Minimum value is 3 and maximum value is 12. Here also, if you observe this orange line, in that case it is going down, which is from 12 and which is from 12 and this 12, and so on and so forth. So this is like you are trying to visualize the data in a very proper way, right? Now, when I say, here I have said I want only one graph. One graph means, one plot means, मैंने यहाँ पे one mention किया है. One indicates I have only one rectangle in which please add that rectangle and add a subplot into the graph 1. Make sure if you are mentioning one subplot, and if you are writing graph 1 dot plot, graph 1 dot plot, graph 1 dot plot number of times, every plotting will be done within one single figure. Now listen, understand very carefully. When I use the first example where I had only used plot, if I say pt dot plot this, right? Let us say I'm just writing again pt dot plot one more data, maybe 2, 3, 4, right? Comma maybe 5, 6, 3 or whatever. And again I'm writing pt dot show. Can you see in this case I'm getting two different graphs? Are you getting? So if I use only plot function, it will plot a graph for me, but individual graph it will plot. But if I want a scenario, real time में ऐसा rare होगा कि I want to represent my graph only for one particular data. If you have only for one particular data, you can use plot function. So it will generate a graph for you. But in real life, if you want to compare 2 or 3 things with you can say some data is to be used for comparison for the visualization purpose, in that case, I'll go ahead with this particular scenario where I have this figure batch. So I hope you have understood the difference between what is a need behind creating a plot and creating a figure, creating a graph and adding a subplot within it. Subplots are basically used when I want multiple number of graphs to be plotted in one single area, and that is called as a graph within the figure. And if we want to represent multiple number of data in one single figure, I have a solution into Matplotlib by writing this particular statements. I have to create one figure first, I have to create a graph first, and then I can perform the addition of those graphs. All right, so graph dot add, graph dot underscore subplot, graph one dot plot, and so on. All right. Hope you all are understanding. Good. All right. Let us go ahead. Now we will see, you can say, the next example in which I'll be writing multiple number of graphs but in a figure. Multiple graphs in a figure. In this example, we have written graph 1 dot plot x and y value, graph 1 dot plot x1 and y1 value, graph 1 dot plot yx2 and y2 value. That means the graph was only one and I tried to add the different plottings into it. Let us take the same line of code where I am taking some x1, y1. Okay, I'll take it up to this point. So first, I will write fig is equal to pt dot figure. Again, rectangle fig dot patch. I'll set the color maybe green. I've set some x variable value, some y variable value, some x1 array and some y1 array. Now I am writing graph 1 is equal to fig add underscore sub, and I'll say 2 comma 1 comma 1. Can you observe in the previous example I have written here 1 because I wanted only one figure to be represented into the graph. But here I want two figures to be represented in one graph. So I'll say graph 1 dot plot, and I'll say x comma y comma maybe line width I can specify and color I can specify. Next, if I want to set maybe tick parameters, so we will take tick parameters x and y, then spines also I will set it to blue, and I'll set the title as this. So this is the first point. After that, I am writing again graph 2 is equal to figure dot add underscore subplot, and I'll say 2 comma 1 comma 2. Again I'll say graph 2 dot plot. What I want to plot, maybe I've given the variable names as x1 and y1. So I'll write x1 and y1. I'll give orange as a color name, and I'll say maybe line width is equal to 3.0. Again, I will set the same parameters. Tick parameters for this I have to set to graph 2 also, right? Graph 2 dot spines, graph 2 dot spines, again graph 2 and graph 2. Here also I'll set some title, maybe graph 2 dot set title, graph 2 dot x label and graph 2 dot set. I'll write plt dot show. Right? Now when I write plt dot show and hit enter, okay, in this case it's not plt, it's pt. We have created a pt variable. Right? Can you see we are getting two different graphs? Maybe I'll change some title. This is graph 1 data and this is graph 1 x-axis. This is graph 1 y-axis. We will change the title here also. So this is graph 2 data, this is graph 2 x-axis, this is graph 2 y-axis. I'll save it and execute. When you execute, can you see now? This is my graph 1, this is my graph 2. Here it is x and y axis, x and y axis. Also, the spines of both are set to blue and the spines, or you can say the parameters ticks, are set to white color. The first graph is having the line color as a red and the second graph is having the line color as orange, right? So this is basically done because I have created two subplots, out of which I'm saying two subplots may first one arrow 1. How actually it is treating is, when I say two subplots, This is called as 1 comma 1, means first row, first column data. What I want the first graph. This is first row, second column, first column, second row. So it is like this is you can represent it as three values as 2 indicates row number, 1 indicates column number, and next 2 indicates the second graph. Okay, here also this is the first graph where I want to represent the data in first row, first column, second row and the first column. This is my first plot, this is my second plot, and accordingly it will try to plot the data for me. And that is why we use, when I say I want to represent few data, when I'll say I want to represent the data in the form of multiple graphs in one single figure, then this is how you can create subplots. So subplots are basically used for creating multiple number of graphs in your diagrams. Okay, I will just do one thing. Keep this code in front of you so that at least you can just go through by looking into this, so that if you have any queries you can post later on into your Telegram group. I'll address those. So I have created multiple graphs in the figure. First, we have created subplot, we have created tick parameters, we have created spines, and everything is for graph 1. Two subplots, this is what it representing me the count. 2 subplots. उसमें first row का first column, first row का second. So always this count will be fixed. 2 is fixed. This indicates two blocks. First row, first column, or you can say first column, first row, first column, second row. This 2 is freezed. From this, your interpreter will understand that this I am starting defining graph 1, and this is what is my graph 1 data. I'm starting defining graph 2, and this is what is my graph 2 data, and that is what we are representing. All right. So this was about, you can say, some line graphs. Now, when I say I want to represent something called as bar graphs. Okay, so let's proceed ahead. I'll put some cells in between. All right, so hope you all have understood that when I'm using a plot and when I'm using a graph and then inserting the figure into it. The reason is if I use only the plot function, it will just plot the data for me in the graphical manner. But if I say I want to basically go ahead by writing, you can say this figures, in that case that particular figure will be basically treated and inserted or used for inserting multiple number of subplots. And how to create a plot and how to create subplot, that I've explained in detail. Now, when we talk about bar graph, when I say bar graph, again I have to use import matplotlib. Again import matplotlib.pyplot as pt. Since I'm in the same notebook, so it is not necessary for me to import the statement again and again. Now, how do I go ahead by representing a bar graph? Let us say I'm using a NumPy array for displaying the data or for using the data. How do we create a NumPy array? I'm saying, let us say I'm defining some positions is equal to, okay, I'm using NumPy, I have to use import NumPy as NP first. Let us say I'm writing positions is equal to np dot arrange and bracket me I'm passing 6 plus 0.5. This is like I am telling I want 6 particular numbers and with a width of 0.5. Let us say I'm writing one more list of names and I'll say student 1, maybe I'll say student 2, I'll say ST3, comma 4, and maybe how many range I have used? 6. So I should pass, just a second, I'll increase the font. Okay. 4, comma ST5, comma ST6. So 6 student names I have passed. Okay. Now I want pt dot bar graph. I will use the bar function. Previously, I have not used any function because by default it was representing a line graph for me. Now I'm representing a bar graph. How do we represent bar graph? It takes a number of arguments. What are the arguments? First, I will say number of positions. Total 6 positions I want to display the data. Next, which fixed data you want to pass? Let us say I'm telling 4, maybe 8, maybe 9, maybe 3, maybe 13, and maybe 6. Comma. I'm saying I want alignment is equal to center. Spelling is align is equal to center. Correct. And I'm saying I want color of the graph should be blue. Now, I have specified a bar graph and I'm writing plt dot. Okay, it takes POS, right? So we have declared. All right. So if you observe here, now the thing is, whenever you are using some predefined functions, for example, if you are in let us say some C programming or C++, you are using something called a string header file and you are using strlen function. So what does the strlen function takes of? Strlen functions take some string and it will find the length for you and it will return some length of that string. That means you are passing one argument to the strlen function. Similarly, when I'm working with different graphs, so these things are called as optional values, right? Because if you have heard about something called as default argument concept in case of programming, default argument means what? Suppose मैं लिखती हूँ, let me just go to some you can say in detailing about little bit detailing about what is default argument. Let us say if I have some print function and I am writing integer a is equal to 10 and integer to 20 and integer c is equal to 30. And let us say inside this print function, I am just writing print a comma b comma c. Now let us say this is my print function and I'm trying to print this data, or we can give this function name as display, assume, right? Obviously I have to use some proper syntax like define and so on and so forth. But at this point, if I give a call to display, in this case, will this give a call to the display function? Of course, yes. It will not give me error. It is because even if I have passed 0 number of arguments, default values 10, 20, 30 will be given to it. If I give display function call by passing 100, in that case, output will be 100, 20 and 30. If I pass a display function by passing the values 100, comma 200, the output will be 100, that is user defined values will get replaced with this. And if I give a call to display function by passing 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 in that case, or 1 comma 2 comma 3, three parameters, then output will be 1 comma 2 comma 3. This concept is called as a default argument concept in case of functions, or you can say in case of programming language. What do you mean by default argument? Whenever I'm using any function, if the user is passing some arguments along with some value, those values are called as a default arguments. And this is possible because when we have defined or when we have declared this function, we have told to the compiler that this particular function is taking some default values also. What is the use of default values? It is basically if the user is not passing any values, then my program should not get ended. My program should not get corrupted, or it should not do some random functionality. I want my program should run smoothly, and I want that's fine for me if the user is not providing me some data. In that case, I will go ahead with the default argument concept. So if I do not pass any arguments, it will take 10, 20 and 30. If I pass only 100, the user defined value 100 will be given to A, 20 and 30 will be considered as default values. Similarly, if I'm passing display 100 and 200, first two values will be default values, last value will be 30. And similarly, if I'm passing all the three values as a new values, then these three values will be changed. So why I have moved to this concept? Because in case of Python also, your function is called as bar function for displaying the bar graph. But the difference is sometimes I am passing only positions, sometimes I am passing some data. But sometimes I may or may not define alignment, and I may or may not define the color. So some of the arguments are given as default arguments. Which are the compulsory arguments? POS is a compulsory argument, that means positions and these values which I want to display. Obviously, I have to tell to the interpreter, I want to generate a bar graph where I need 6 bars for me. And if I'm saying 6 bar line graphs, bar graphs I want, then I am using NumPy array. This position is basically an array. You can give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or you can just pass a number between it. But normally you create a NumPy array. You give that I want this arrangement with the gap of 0.5 between the graphs. And what data I want to display? This particular data I want to display. You are seeing I want 6 bar lines. So you have to pass 6 values over here. Next, how this particular, you can say in this scenario, my names of the student are not yet displayed. We have just tried to define, or we have just tried to display a bar graph. When I try to display a bar graph, in this case, मेरा यहाँ पे bar graph तो display हो गया, values भी display हो गए. Values means ये tick parameters आ गए. And this 4, this 8, this 9, this is 3, this is 13, this is 6. These are also displayed. The color I have defined as blue, that is also displayed. Now I want to set some title and I want to make this more readable. If I want to make it more readable, I will just take this. I have defined the color as blue. I'm writing pt.x label, and here I'll say student names, and here I'll say pt.label, and let us say height. Okay, if you want to mention some color, so you can mention here also, because this is default argument. If you provide, then okay. If you do not provide, they are by default displayed in black color, right? So I am writing X label, I am writing Y label, and I am giving pt dot type. I'm writing height details. Right? So again, I can use pt dot tick parameters, and I can pass axis is equal to x-axis, and I'll say color is equal to maybe red. I'll take this and I'll type pt dot tick parameters, axis is equal to y and color is equal to red. Now, if I say pt dot x ticks, and I'll pass position, comma, names. Let us check the output first. Can you see the output in which we have tried to display a bar graph by representing this positions and this data. The graph is displayed in center. You are declaring a color is equal to blue. You have used X label, student names. It have come by default in black color. If I say Y label, height, it is giving me height, and color I have set it to red. So it is displaying that data. After that, I've set the title is equal to student height details. So this is what it is displaying. Next, I've said X tick parameters. Can you see that tick parameters, these small dots where it is pointing, they are all in red color. So that's what it is. Can I set spines? Yes, you can. X ticks, I have used pause under comma names. Can you see here on the x axis, x ticks के जगह पे हर पोजीशन पे मुझे नेम्स का डिटेल डिस्प्ले करना है. So there are total 6 positions. So 6 names I have given for it, and I want to set the tick values for it. So that's the reason. If I say tick parameter, then this is nothing but one dot. These are, you can see this dot, this dot, this dot, and so on. This is represented. But if I want to give name to this bar graph, then I will go ahead by writing pt dot x ticks. हर x tick को मुझे क्या value देना है? That value is defined by names, and where I have to give, that is defined by this positions. So this is how you can represent a bar graph. Alright, so a bar graph is another good representation whenever you are working with Matplotlib. So we have seen line, we have seen bar. Let's proceed ahead to represent a chart, which is pie chart. Now, again, you have to import Matplotlib, and you have to import matplotlib.pyplot as pt. I've already imported that. Now, let's go ahead with something called as pie chart. Now, we will say, let us say I'm having size. So, abhi, what I will suggest you is, whenever you're working with any Python library, in short, you have plethora of functions within it. Plenty of functions you have. Only the necessity that you have to do is, or the thing that you have to do is, you have to understand what are the functions and how they are taking place, or what are the different arguments that is taking place, and that is called as usage of Python functions. You have to understand how many parameters I have to pass, how many arguments I have to pass, are there any default arguments, and so on. So accordingly, you can put on some values. Similarly, when I say about pie chart, let me just declare something called as size. I'm saying 50, maybe 23, maybe 15, maybe 7 and 5. This is my array, and this total should be 100 because pie chart is represented in a circle and that addition of that circle should be 100, right? I'm giving some labels. That is also some maybe array where I'm writing some Android and maybe some another Apple, maybe I'm writing Windows, I'm writing, let us say, Xiaomi, or how many data? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, one more. So let us say, now I'm writing one colors as another, you can say list. The first color I want yellow, second I want orange, the third I want blue, or you can say there is one more called as cyan, and next I want blue, and let us say last I want red. So this is called as, I have defined three lists. First is size, second is labels, and third is colors. 5 elements I want to represent into pie chart. I will use pt.pie. So this will give me a pie chart. Obviously, if I write pt.show, this will show the graph. But what does this pie function takes? It takes sizes as a first argument. It takes colors is equal to colors. If I mention it, then it's fine. If I do not mention it, then also it is fine. I'm writing labels is equal to labels. And let us say here we have to mention start angle is equal to, let us say, 90. Sizes is nothing but the data. Colors takes list of colors. So this is nothing but one, you can say, default argument concept. Then start angle I will say as 90 because it will start from your 90th angle and then go ahead on printing the data or displaying that pie chart. And labels I am defining with this labels. So here why I'm writing colors is equal to colors and labels equal to labels, it is because this colors takes list of colors. And instead of writing the list over here, I have mentioned a variable name called as colors over here. So this is called as, we have tried to plot a pie chart and we have tried to display the pie chart. And if you observe, a nice pie chart is shown on the output screen. Similarly, when I say here, I'll just copy this data, and after plotting, I want to set the title. I will set pt.title and I'll say pie chart. And I want that color should be blue. Here I have to mention it within the quotes. You have to follow some rules into this. Also, I'm saying pt.legend. I'm writing title is equal to legend and location I want in upper left. I'm saying pt. Can you see the legend now? Previous diagram and this diagram, do the comparison. Here title was not given, I've included a title. Here legend was not given. What I mean by legend is basically, you can say, it's like some kind of information which I want to represent in my pie chart. And when I say legend can be displayed in upper left, upper right, bottom left and bottom right. These are again some predefined values to this location. And And when we say this location is upper left, so this legend will be displayed in upper left, where it will mention me this yellow color represent Android, this orange color represent Apple, and so on and so forth. So this is, you can say, about the matplotlib basic graph representations. All right, so let us quickly go through once again whatever I have explained, and then I will what machine learning is and what are the different application areas, what is going on, and what data science and data scientist can do. This is what is a matplotlib we have started with. And we have seen what the present this particular array, writing pt.title and pt.show, right? Right? And after that, we have used something called as X label and Y label. When we talk about X label and Y label, in that case, I have something called as title, X label, Y label, and show function. Then we have something called as subplots. When I talk about subplots, it is basically used when I want to put my graph within some container, because there is in you can say in some of the scenarios in some of the scenarios we want some data to be represented in a figure, in a container, because when I only use a plot, it will try to plot in different scenarios. But if I use a subplot, if I use a figure, in that case I can add my graphs into different plots. So this is what we have seen. After that, we have seen something called as tick parameters. Then we have seen something called as spines. So tick parameters are these small dots which are represented. Spines are basically the bottom line, top line, and right line and left side. So top, left, right, and bottom are the spines. After that, we have seen something called as a single graph which can have multiple number of plots. That means different data I want to represent. Make sure whenever you are working with graphs, only important thing that you have to remember is how I am representing my figure. Here, if you are writing figure.add subplot 111, it means this is the most important statement when you are creating a graph. The reason is from this line only, your compiler will understand that I want only one graph which will have one row and one column. What name I have given? Graph 1. अगर आपको multiple number of lines, multiple number of x and y arrays display करना है, in one single graph, second important point that you have to note down is you have to write graph1.plot, graph1.plot, graph1.plot. You do not have to make the changes into graph1 because I said my compiler that I'm going to use a subplot. After that, when I talk about subplot 2, from this sentence, your compiler will understand that I have to generate one single background, but within that I want to generate two graphs. So it is like you are dividing one table dividing a table into two rows. And you are mentioning first row, first column data. You are defining first row, second column data. Whatever you have to remember, understand over here is whatever data you want in first row, first column, that will be treated as graph 1. Whatever you are adding on first column, first row, or you can say second row and first column, that should be done properly. And these two are different graphs. So आपको once you will practice, you will make a once you practice this, then it will not be very difficult for you to understand that how these plots are generated very nicely. If I want to represent 3 or 4 graphs into one single figure, I have to create only one subplot. But if I have to represent multiple number of graphs into one container, then I can use multiple number of subplots. You can take the data from NumPy arrays, you can take and represent the bar graph, you can create list, you can create accordingly lists and get the data from that. Lastly, you can use or you can make use of something called as pie chart. So pie chart is again taking 3 arguments. One is size, another is colors, and another, or you can say something called as start angle and the labels. If you want to give something called as title and the legend, then you can give the legends. So this is basically, you can say, introduction about some matplotlib. You can try at your end, maybe after today's session, you can just search and explore more on matplotlib. But you can also say that in case of matplotlib, here we can have we have defined x array and y array, or you can say the list over here only. But there are certain situations where you need to take data from some files. So what you have to do, you have to, let us say I have an Excel file or read CSV file which is having 2-column data. Can you get the data of CSV in my Python program? Answer is yes, we have seen it. Where? In Pandas library. So can you imagine that how these libraries goes hand in hand through if I have an CSV file which is having 1 or 2 list of columns, and I want to represent that CSV file directly into the graph. How do I proceed? I will use again a pandas library. I will use a library pandas to read and use the read CSV function. What does the read CSV will do? Read CSV will read the data. Where it will read? In a NumPy array. Can I plot NumPy array in a bar graph? Yes, of course. So this is how the sequence goes when you are working with different libraries of Python, right? So from my side, we will say that matplotlib, if you practice once again, then you can say if you practice and if you go do some type of codings where you can read the data, display the data, take it into pandas library, take it into NumPy, and then try to print it using maybe different plots. I've just, due to the time constraint, I've just shown a pie chart, you can say bar chart, and the line graphs. You can plot some, you can say different graphs like scatter plot here, and you have another plot, then you can do ahead. So the more you explore, the more you gain the knowledge. This is what I can say. So if you talk about something called as machine learning, deep learning, and some application areas, since we are seeing it's a data science hands-on workshop. So for example, when I'm talking about data science, it consists of ML, DL, and it's you can say AI. But when we are saying we want to work on this, in that case you need to understand the Python libraries. So out of which 3 libraries I tried to cover, at least not completely, but at least I've tried to touch these library. At least students will get some something out of it, and you have understood how to install libraries, how to use the functionalities, and so on. Right. So let me just quickly give you an overview what is exactly ML is, what is DL, what are the application areas, and what is the scope of your being a data scientist. Right. So when we talk about machine learning, everyone have heard about the machine learning. But let me just explain in a very generalized way. What is exactly generalized way is, suppose I have to assemble a table and a chair, for example, and I do not have, I have something called as I've ordered that using some booklet, and they have given me some booklet, and the steps are given into that booklet, and then only I will be able to assemble a table and the chair. So if you're not having a booklet, if you're not having the instruction set, then you will not be able to assemble that table and the chair. That is how your machine learning works. If you are, imagine a scenario, if you have a set of data and if you present that data in a proper way to the machine, then your machine will try to understand that data. And when I'm saying machine is trying to understand the data, means I am the programmer, I am the developer who is trying to develop the machine learning algorithms. What does those algorithms will do? Those algorithms will try to fetch some features from your data, and features can be anything. For example, if I'm talking about a human is having two eyes, one nose, one mouth, two ears, and so on. So this is called as one kind of a feature extraction. So basic task of machine learning is your algorithm must be capable of extracting some features, or you as a developer, as a programmer, must have the capability to understand the features on the data. What are the different features that you have in your data, and that is called as feature engineering, and that is the first most important part whenever you are working with machine learning or deep learning areas, right? In case of machine learning, everyone must have n number of times. There are three categories: one is supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. So when I'm talking about supervised learning, in this case, it is like the way I will teach the machine will give me the output. Suppose you are in English language class, and the tutor is giving you some knowledge about, you can say, English language, right? Some grammar concepts. So it is like you are learning whatever is taught to you, and that is supervised learning. That means if you are saying, I am initially giving some predefined predefined conclusions. For example, if I am considering, let us say, the example of I want to make a segregation between two different categories. Maybe I'm giving a rose flower and I'm giving a sunflower flower to my machine. And I want to tell to the machine, I am giving you, let us say, 1,000 images of rose flower, and I am giving you 1,000 images of sunflower. I have given two categories already to my machine, that these 1,000 images are the flower called as a rose. So rose is my label. And this is the second category where I have 1,000 flowers. And I am giving you 1,000 images of
Madam side is fast.
Yeah. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you. I think there was some net issue in between. Yeah. All right. So when I'm talking about some categorical type of data, in that case, I will go ahead with some supervised learning. And when I'm talking about unsupervised means you have a data in which your data is not given already in the label format. Means your machine will try to identify the pattern of a data, and then your machine will try to understand this understand this data from maybe some kind of a pattern, and pattern recognition जिसको हम बोलते हैं, that is called as unsupervised. For example, if you are doing some shopping, in that shopping, if you are buying, let us say, some books, then it will find the pattern that this person is buying the books. Let me just offer the covers for for that book. Let me just offer pens for a pen belonging to that category, and so on. So it is like the machine understands the data based on some pattern. It will try to analyze the data and give you some output, and that is predict some output, and that is called as unsupervised. But when I'm saying the difference between major difference between supervised and unsupervised is, in case of supervised, here we need offline data. ऑफलाइन मीन्स मशीन को पहले डेटा देने से पहले मेरे पास प्रॉपर कैटेगराइज डेटा होना चाहिए. And when I'm talking about unsupervised data, in that case we need some kind of real-time analysis also, and that is unsupervised. And when I'm talking about supervised, here we give what is the input and what is the output. But in case of unsupervised, we do not give them labels along with this unsupervised. The next is reinforcement learning. When we say reinforcement, it is basically a learning which is type of based on interaction with some environment. And in case of reinforcement learning, you have some techniques of AI embedded in AI, that is artificial intelligence. That means it basically takes some decision based on some artificial intelligence implemented in it, maybe some robotics and so on and so forth. So these are the three categories of machine learning at a glance. And if you observe, where is ML? If you take any application like Google Chrome, you can take translators, you can take Google Keep, or you can take Google, this particular keyboard, or you can take any application you're using right now, is everyone is following something called as ML. And ML is having a big picture. And when we talk about ML, there are supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. When we say supervised, we have classification and regression. When we talk about unsupervised, we have clustering and dimension reduction algorithms. And when we talk about reinforcement, then it is basically based on some AIs. जैसे आप gaming खेलते हो, there is some person who is a computer. That means computer is treated as a human. That means it is nothing but robotics and AI technology. And when you are talking about supervised, it has two major categories. Generally, when we try as a developer, when I try to develop any algorithms, initially I will go with supervised learning. Then my machine will go into unsupervised learning. So when I say supervised, it takes classification and regression. Classification basically works on, you can say, categorical data. If I have some discrete values, then I'll go with classification. But if I have some continuous values, like I want to do some predictions, some forecasting, then I will go ahead with regression algorithms. So this is just one single diagram where I have shown the major categories of machine learning and its applications. What is deep learning then? Now, when I say, as in case of machine learning, I have to do something called as feature extraction. What is this feature extraction? As I said, if I take a human being, that human is having 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, and 2 ears, and so on. So those are some kind of features. If I take a rose flower, it is having a petals which is having a proper shape. It is a red in color, or you can say the shape of that particular rose flower, that the stem of that particular rose flower. So it is nothing but it is features. So when I talk about machine learning algorithms, programmer or the developer have to make your machine understand what are the features, and then you can perform some classifications and you get the output. But that is called as something called as handcrafted features. But when I'm talking about something deep learning, here the feature engineering part is not done by me manually. That is done by your machine on its own. How it is done? Based on the neurons. In our brain, we have neurons, and neurons are having something called as dendroids. So normally, if you consider, a deep learning is basically designed by looking at your human brain, and that is nothing but neurons of the brain. And when I'm saying neurons neurons of the brain, they have something called as dendroid. That means if some action takes place, it goes through our brain neural system or a neural network, and that is what is displayed. In case of deep learning, you have major, if you want to work with machine, you can say image data sets, right? Normally, in today's scenario, if you observe Facebook, if you observe Instagram, you have LinkedIn and many things, and you take any shopping websites, everything, every these websites are day to day, they are generating a large amount of data, specifically in the form of videos and images. So they want to process that images and videos, and for that we need something called as deep learning. And inside deep learning, the major, you can say, algorithm, if you want to work with image data set, that algorithm is called as convolution neural network. So again, in convolution neural network, you have different things. You have a unit architecture, you have CNN architecture, you have VGA model, VGA 16 model, VGA 32 model. So there are different models that they have already defined. What is the what actually a model is? Model, you can consider something which is already trained, whatever the data has been given to the machine. So machine, whenever we are talking about machine learning or deep learning, once we try to give some data to the machine, ultimately your machine will give me a model. So model will be treated as general skeleton for performing maybe some classification, maybe some prediction, maybe some, you can say, regression technique, and maybe some kind of analysis that can be done. So this is called as machine learning and deep learning. So if you consider roles and skill set for the professional, if you talk about, I want to learn data science, even in that case, data science is a, you can say, generalized field. But as a developer or as a programmer, you have three major categories. Like if you want to go ahead with data scientist, or you want to go ahead with data analyst, or whether you want to go as a data engineer, they all are having different roles. When I'm talking about data scientist, they basically examine which questions need answering and where to find the related data. They are basically working with analysis on mining, cleaning, processing, and ability. That particular person must have the ability to work specifically on data part. And when I say data analyst, they try to bridge the gap between your scientist and the engineering. But what they are responsible for, they are responsible for qualitative actions items and effectively communicating the finding and the diverse of stakeholders. So that is data analyst, who will analyze whether the data which is provided by data scientist is correct or not, and whatever data engineer have developed, that is correct or not. And then that person will try to analyze the data. And when I'm talking about development, deployment, management, that comes as a data engineer. So do not get confused whether the data scientist, analyst, and engineer, these three are major different fields. And by you can say by 2025, the demand for all the three is going to increase tremendously. So if you want to be a data scientist or data analyst or the data engineer, you all must have at least some good programming skills. Basically, for performing all these operations, you must learn at least some programming languages, maybe R, maybe Python, one statistical or mathematical skills, maybe some, you can say, there is one SAS tool, then statistical libraries are there, then you have there are different SPSS statistical tool is there, IBM ka there is specific statistical tools are there, and you must be aware about some kind of data visualization techniques, and maybe visualization, maybe have seen matplotlib and so on. And you must have the knowledge about something called as some databases. Maybe it is a structured database or unstructured, maybe SQL, NoSQL, MongoDB, you have Cassandra DB, and something called as you can say data part, where we actually going to work. So at least you must understand, whenever we want to work as a data scientist, analyst, or engineer, then we must have one programming skill, one database skills, and something which is will help me to perform a data visualization. So these are some of the roles and skill sets of professionals, and these are the different application areas. If you consider healthcare domain, if you consider image analysis, if you consider intelligent agents, robots, natural language processing, your Google Translator, you can say, I want to perform handwriting analysis, I want to take some corrective decisions on judiciary system, or if you talk about, let us say, healthcare, may if you talk about some detections of cancers, maybe detection of some, you can say, depressions, analysis on depression. So all these are different real-time application areas. And robotics, if you go ahead with robotic process automation, social networking analysis, and so on and so forth. So there are thousands, or you can say lakhs of different application areas where your machine learning is in demand. So when we talk about some data science tools, so you can have something called as data storage. When we talk about data storage, they refer to the storing of the data in which your data science process to take some insights from that. And when I say transform, it means I want to convert the data in a proper format. Why I want to convert that data in a proper format? Because until and unless your data is not in the proper format, that data will not be understood by the machine. So maybe data integration, data cleaning, data pre-processing, that all comes under the data transformation techniques. And when I say data model, it basically you are trying to organize the data elements, and you're organizing in such a standard way such that it should be understood by your software. And when we talk about visualization, that means I'm trying to represent the data in a proper format so that it should be understood by the customers. So what exactly when I say data science tools, MongoDB and PostgreSQL, MySQL, these are used for, let us say, for data store. When you say about transform, you are talking about Python, you are talking about SQL, there is something called as Spark. When you say I want to generate a model, model means machine learning. Machine learning means there is something called as skitlearn library, sklearn library. You have pandas, you have matplotlib, you have Spark. And when you want to visualize, we have seen matplotlib, there is something called as ggplot, there is something called as bokeh, there is d3.js. All these are different packages that you want to that you wish, if you want to go ahead with something called as data science, then you can go ahead with at least one tool out of each category, and that is a complete package that you can go ahead for becoming a data scientist or analyst or a data engineer. So for this, with this, I will conclude my session, and I hope you have got something out of it. All right. So, ma'am, I'll stop my screen sharing.
Yes. Thank you, Akshita ma'am. Ma'am, there are a
Yes,
few
ma'am.
questions from the students. Shall I go ahead?
Yes. Yes. Is
Uh,
it on the Telegram group?
yes, ma'am.
Is
Yes.
okay. Okay.
Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
so there are small questions, and the first question
Yes, ma'am.
is, what are the list? Whether list and tuples are same?
No, list and tuples are not same. When you talk about list, it is, you can say, list is having different number of elements, but tuple is basically you are writing the data in the form of round brackets. Second important thing is, whenever you are specifying a list, it is treated as an array internally, and list is enclosed into the square brackets, and your tuples are enclosed into the round brackets. So this is your program convention that your Python uses.
Okay. Thank you,
Yes.
ma'am. Ma'am, there is next question, which is, can we initiate
Hello.
range and exchange in the graph if deliberately?
Hello. Ma'am, actually your voice is breaking.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Shall I
Okay.
go through the?
Okay,
Go
ma'am,
through
shall I repeat?
Yes, ma'am. Please.
Okay. Can we initiate range and X range in the graph? If
Okay.
yes, is there any library or can we directly implement?
Okay, range and X range both you can use. No need to define a library because everything is there in your NumPy library. So when you are using np.range, in that case you can go ahead with this. So the functions are already present inside the library. So you have to just use import NumPy as np. That's it for a range.
Okay, ma'am, there is one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
What library is used for writing the URLs?
Writing the URLs where actually for I
Uh,
didn't get.
yeah, that is the only question that is asked. So,
Where
okay, ma'am,
actually
no
that.
issues. We can have, yeah.
Yeah, because the writing
So,
of URL is basically you can have a URL. You can just write the print statement to print the data on your Jupyter notebook. But when you are talking about writing a URL or connecting your Python with something, some external, you can say URLs or some external things, then for that you need to develop your own APIs, that is application program interface. For example, if I have, let us say, developed my application, ultimately I have to generate one API for that. And when I say I want to generate one API for that, then for that there are some advanced topics like Kubernetes hai, and you have Scala and Kubernetes, in which you can deploy your project and you can use it as an API. So it is like that.
okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, next question is distribution parameters on X and Y axis get
Hmm.
automatically or can we give the suggestion or we can define it?
X and Y parameters in our programs we have defined by our own. But if you have some specific, you can say already predefined NumPy array, already predefined some file in which you have, let us say, roll number and the ID, roll number and the marks. ऐसा आपके पास अगर Excel file है, if you have CSV file, you can take that CSV file from Panda through the pandas, put it into NumPy library and you can process it. So here in our examples, we have taken hard-coded values, right? But it is not always necessary you give hard-coded values for plotting the graphs. But you can just fetch the data using the pandas and NumPy libraries and then plot it. That's absolutely fine.
Okay,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Ma'am, this is last question I would take. And the question is, can we use tuple in graphical presentation?
Yes, you can use a tuple, but it is always a good practice to go ahead with list or something called as array, because when you are trying to represent the graph data, your graph will have multiple number of values and those values must be enclosed into something called as one array. So always try to create a NumPy array, or you can say fetch the data in a NumPy array and then plot the graph instead of tuple, because tuple and these things are list of data only, but a good way of representing the data is using NumPy array. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am, there is one more question, but if like it is fine for you, we can take this. And
Yes,
the
ma'am.
question is, how can we access file like CSV or any other files which are located on cloud or on Google Drive for analysis?
Okay, so for that, Shubham, in this case, you have you heard about something called as Google Colab or research? If you search on Google, there is something called as google.colab.research, where it is similar to your Jupyter notebook. So in that, you can have a facility of Colab is one kind of, you can say, online platform where you can write your Python programs, and it is given by your Google only. So what you can do, you can just write some set of code or line of code over there, and which will be linked with your Gmail account, and you can just fetch the data from your Google Drive, put it into the pandas library, and then you can display it. So if you are not using offline, you can say, data offline in data or Jupyter notebooks, in that case you can use Google Colab. Or other way is you can just you have some predefined functions in Python where you can access the directly Google Drive link and you can fetch the data from your Google Drive link. Okay, ma'am?
Okay, okay. Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am. I hope
Yeah.
all the students are now happy with the answers that are given and will further read upon it.
Yes, ma'am.
Have already learned and enhanced their problem solving and critical thinking skills. So
Yes,
thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am, once again.
Thank you, ma'am.
And now
Hope all of
here
you.
I would like to, yes, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
And so here I would like to take an opportunity to call upon Professor Samuel, Assistant Professor from ENTC Department, St. Vincent Pallotti College of Engineering, to present concluding remark about the session and present the vote of thanks. Over to you, Samuel, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're
Yes,
audible.
ma'am.
Okay, so I guess
But
Samuel
this
sir has not
point,
joined.
yeah,
Ma'am,
there is
till the
some issue
time
with the
you please
network.
share your experience about the workshop, what you felt, what was your experience to join with us. So you please talk about that. It would be nice to listen to you. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Akshita ma'am, you please
Yes,
talk
ma'am.
about your, yeah.
Okay, so overall for me it was a great 3 sessions or 3 days workshop online for Python. I used to I used to cover this in traditional environment, but I hope I have given my best to you all, and you have at least got the got at least what we have to go ahead in Python. What are the different libraries? What are the data science? The main motto, since the time constraint was there, so we basically have gone through this overview of being a data scientist or a roadway of being a data scientist. So I hope you all have enjoyed these sessions, and good to see you all. Do take care. That's all from my side, ma'am. I have enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Yeah. So let me check whether Samuel sir has joined. Somebody please let me know whether sir has joined or not. Ma'am, we'll wait for 2-3 minutes. Yeah.
Ma'am, there is a message in the group saying that Sir have joined. He has joined.
Uh, yes, ma'am. Shanti ma'am, am I audible properly?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible clearly.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So
Actually,
once again, I'll invite, yes, we can. Once again, I'll invite Samuel sir to present concluding remarks about the session and present vote of thanks. Over to you, Samuel sir. Dear participants, please wait if there are some announcement to be done and there are some addresses by the speakers, please wait. Uh, okay, just Yes, Samuel sir, now as we are started the valedictory session, because it is about 3:30, you can have your report reading here and you can present a concluding remark. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, then shall I wait or shall I leave this meeting? Is it?
Ma'am, if you have something urgent, you can leave.
Yeah, yeah. I have a
Or,
next session actually.
okay, I think
Yeah.
only 5 minutes would do.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am,
I'll wait.
please,
I'll
please.
wait. No
Yeah,
issues, ma'am.
yeah. So
Well,
I guess
ma'am,
sir is,
Kotwal
sir may,
ma'am, you can give the vote of Samuel.
yes,
I
yes,
called
ma'am.
him right.
Yes, ma'am. I was about to, yeah, I was about to do that. But sir is going to read the report of the session, and that's why we are
Yeah.
waiting.
Okay. Okay, no problem.
Okay.
I'll wait. I'll wait,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. That's what.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
He is waiting for the validity.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
But that's what we have already
Yeah.
started it, so I
Yes,
requested,
yes.
sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Fine.
yes.
Yes, ma'am. So I guess now Samuel sir is ready. He sent a message and he would be reading a report soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, if you are ready, then you can start with the report reading.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Little bit. Okay. So, good afternoon, one and all present here. Okay. First of all, I will give the key highlights on this 3 days online workshop on artificial intelligence and data science. Okay, and it was the collaborative program between the two reputed institutes, that is D.Y.Patil College of Engineering and St. Vincent Pallotti College of Engineering Technology, Nagpur. Um, a step towards the new education policy as per the 2021. In this workshops, two international and four industry experts from the multinational company, and they disseminated the experiential learning. Okay, and another thing is the total participants for this workshop, 1,732 from the different regions, and 18 to 22 hours of total active engagements in artificial intelligence and data science domain, and also conducted on hands-on practices on AI and data sciences. Uh, the analysis of participants, total 732 participants. Out of this, 1,493 from the engineering colleges and 231 from the polytechnic colleges, and others from 8 students. Okay, and out of this 1,732, total students was 500, and total third year students from 759, and from second year, total 454 students were there, and from first year, 24. So total participants for this 3 days workshop, 1,732, and now the day one was inaugurated by Dr. Vijay Vadai, Principal, D.Y.Patil College of Engineering, offering praise to Goddess Saraswati. Uh, then the welcome address given by Dr. Vijay Vadai, Principal, D.Y.Patil College of Engineering, and Dr. Surendra Goli, Principal, St. Vincent Quality College of Engineering Technology, Nagpur. The program was inaugurated at 10 a.m. The guest of inauguration Dr. Subhash Chaudhary, Vice Chancellor, RTMNU, Nagpur, and Dr. Ram Nibuday, Joint Director, Director of Technical Education, Nagpur, and Father Dr. Pon Chandrapanel, Director, St. Vincent Pallotti College of Engineering Technology, Nagpur. The chief guest of day one was Dr. Amit Datta, Deputy Director, AICT, New Delhi. The day one vote of thanks was given by Dr. V.G. Kotawar, Head of the Department, Computer Engineering, D.Y.Patil College of Engineering, okay, Pune. The program coordinate and the anchoring was by Dr. Preeti Patil, Head of the Department, Information Technology Department, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Pune. Uh, Okay, so the day one, the hands-on session by Miss Akshita Chanchalani, technical trainer, Sunbeam Infotech Private Limited, Pune, and the keynote speaker was day one, Mr. Darren Borimer, George Washington University, USA, and second one is the Dr. Vinay Kulkarni, Chief Scientist and Head Software System and Services Research, TCS Pune. And third one is Mr. Abhay Bakshi, Principal Software Manager, Adroits Research Group, Washington, DC, USA. So day one, the final vote of thanks given by Dr. V.G. Kotawar, sir, Head of the Department, Computer Engineering, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Pune. And day two, the welcome note given by Dr. Vijay Vadai, Principal, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering. And day two, the 2 hour session taken by Mr. Suraj Kumar, Research Scientist, Research Assistant, IIT Mumbai. The topic was natural language processing. And the vote of thanks on that session was given by Dr. V.G. Kotawar, sir, Head of the Department, Computer Engineering, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Pune. And second session, the taken by program coordinator and hands-on by professor coordinator and hands-on on vote of thanks given by Professor Vishaka Methre, Department Computer Engineering, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Pune. And second session was from Miss Akshita Chanchalani, technical trainer, Sunbeam Infotech Private Limited. The topic was Python and data science, and its libraries and demonstration also. So the program, the end session by 3:30. Okay, so the program hands vote of thanks given by the Professor Vishaka Methre, ma'am, Department of Computer Engineering, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Pune. And day third, the welcome note given by Dr. V.G. Kotawar, Head of the Department, Computer Engineering, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering. And the program start by 10:30 a.m. The 2 hour session taken by Mr. Piyush Nikam, member technical staff, NetApp R&D, Pune. And the session summarized and vote of thanks given by Professor Shiju Samuel from St. Vincent Pallotti College of Engineering Technology, Nagpur. And second session, that is hands-on session by 2 o'clock, Ms. Akshita Chanchalani, technical trainer, Sunbeam Infotech Private Limited, Pune. The topic was Python and data science, libraries, and demonstration was given by. Okay, and its session, the hands-on session. This session, vote of thanks given by Professor Vishaka Methre, ma'am. Okay, so this is the and day two, and now day third. That is day third. Again, by welcome address given by the Dr. Vijay Vadai. Okay, and the principal, D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Pune. And the session start by 10:30 a.m. and 2 hour session taken by the Miss Piyush Nikam and the member technical staff, NetApp R&D Pune, and the vote of thanks given by the session by Dr. V.G. Kotawar, Head of the Department, Computer Engineering. Okay, and This is the day 2, and the second session of the second session of day 3 is taken by Miss Akshita Chanchalani, technical trainer, Sunbeam Infotech Private Limited, Pune. The topic was Python and data science libraries and its demonstrations. Okay, so this is the day 3rd. Okay, and okay, so this is from my side. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you, sir. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Samuel, sir, for such a nice briefing about all the sessions throughout this workshop. Thank you, sir, for your presence and valuable time. And towards the end, let me take and conclude the session by presenting vote of thanks. So feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it to somebody. So let me take a moment to present a gift of gratitude to all those who contributed to us this workshop. It's my privilege to have been asked this vote of thanks. I extend my humble and sincere thanks to respected Dr. Amit Datta sir, Honorable Dr. Ram Nibude, Dr. Subhash Chaudhary, Dr. Daren George, and then Mr. Abhay Bakshi sir, Dr. Vinay Kulkarni sir, Father Dr. Paul, and all the dignitaries who were present for the inaugural function for their best wishes and for their blessings for the function. I extend my humble and sincere thanks to Honorable Shri Satish D.Y.Patil sir, Vice President and Chairman, Dr. D.Y.Patil Educational Complex, Akodi, Pune. I express my gratitude to Honorable Colonel S.K. Joshi sir, Campus Director, Dr. D.Y.Patil Educational Complex, Akodi, Pune. I extend my hearty vote of thanks to Mr. Suraj Kumar and Mr. Piyush Nikam and Mrs. Akshita Chanchalani ma'am for their valuable time that they have spared with us out of their busy schedule and their excellent presentation which made the session interesting and knowledgeable. Further, I would like to express my deep sense of gratitude to Dr. Vijay Vadai sir, our principal, Dr. Surendra Gore sir, principal, SVP CET Nagpur, Vice Principal ma'am, Dr. Mrs. P. Malati, for their guidance, support and motivation for planning and execution of this workshop. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. Vinayak Kottawar sir, Head of Computer Engineering, and Dr. Mrs. Preeti Patil ma'am, HOD IT, who are the chief coordinators for the workshop and made this workshop to happen and to be successful. My sincere thanks to Professor Samuel, who has presented concluding remarks and vote of thanks so nicely. Thank you to you, sir. I thanks HODs of all the departments, dean and section in charges for their cordial cooperation and support for the workshop to be planned and to be executed. A very nice quote by Stepeng, that is, unity is a strength. When there is a teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. And let me take this pride to mention here that we have a very great organizing team. And this team has worked hard to make this event, this workshop successful. So thank you all the members of the organizing team. Thanks to all the faculty members and the staff who extended their help for planning and execution of this workshop. I thank all the faculty members, students and stakeholders who have participated in the event and made it a great event. Once again, I thank to one and all for their cordial cooperation, and my apologies if I have missed one or the other name, but once again, thank you all who were involved for the successful execution of the event. Now to conclude this, a very nice quote by B.B. King. The beautiful thing about learning is nobody can take it away from you. We are very fortunate to receive such a great learning from all the resource persons available with us. And I hope, dear all, you have grasped this knowledge, this learning, and will make use of this in coming future. So here I conclude this workshop. Have a great day ahead. Thank you for joining us. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Akshita ma'am. Thank you, Akshita ma'am, for waiting here and being with us. Thank you, ma'am.